this beat is sick. I wanna take a ride on your disco stick. Let's have some fun, this beat is sick. I wanna take a ride on your disco stick. Let's play a love game, play a love game. Do you want love or you want fame? Are you in the game? Down the love game.
I get knocked out, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked out, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked out, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked out, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down.
Let's have some fun, this beat is sick. I wanna take a ride on your disco stick. Don't think too much, just bust that kick. I wanna take a ride on your disco
I
stick.
get knocked out, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked out, but I get up again.
Is this the Krusty Krab?
No, this is Patrick.
I wanna get numb and forget where I'm from. Just looking in your eyes, like looking at the sun. I feel like you're the moon, I feel like I'm the one. I wanna get numb, I wanna get numb.
I'm bulletproof, nothing to lose. Far away. Ricochet, you take your aim. Far away.
I don't wanna know if you're playing me, keep it on the low. 'Cause my heart can't take it anymore. And if you're creeping, please don't let it show. Oh baby, I don't wanna know.
Shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. Shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am
Damn, I ain't been sober. I'm a smoker. When I was drinking, I take off my little heart. Who takes the sober? All I want, what we roll up. Just be honest. Damn, I ain't been sober.
I need something you prove, something stronger than I'm used to. Yeah, I've been pulling 92 hard and feel like nothing's gonna cut it. That's the hard truth. When I told her, I said, yeah, should've got done, said come to get me. Yeah, I got so caught up, forgot you told me. Yeah, hurry my girls, best to roll me. Yeah, next thing I do. Yeah, I need something you prove. Oh, I need something you prove. Next thing I do. Yeah, I need something you prove. Oh, I need something you prove.
see no changes. Wake up in the morning and I ask myself, it's like worth living, should I blast myself? I'm tired of being poor, need to work some black. My stomach hurts, so I'm looking for a person to snatch. Cops give a damn about a Negro. Pull a trigger, kill a nigga, he's a hero. Get it back to the kids, who the hell cares? One less ugly mouth on the welfare.
I got what you need. Looking for the story, get what you want. You get what you please. We about to get it on. Take off the drawers. It's just you and me. You know what I be doing. I'm about to go wrong. Cause I like what I see.
California knows how to party. California knows how to party. In the city of LA. In the city of Belmont. In the city of Compton. They keep it rockin'. They keep it rockin'.
I feel bonita.
Push me and then just touch me till I can get my satisfaction.
Push me and then just touch me till I can get my satisfaction.
But baby, you hardly even know when I try to show you. Song is meant to keep you doing what you're supposed to. Waking up too early, maybe we could sleep. Make you banana pancakes, pretend like it's the weekend now.
That girl is a real crowd, please. Small world, all her friends know of me. Young bull living like an old keys. Quick release the cash, watch it fall slowly.
Waking up too early, maybe we could sleep. Make you banana pancakes, pretend like it's the weekend now.
Smoke in the air, Dennis drink.
Look.
Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, and motherfuckers act like they forgot about Dre. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, and motherfuckers act like they forgot about Dre. So what do you say to somebody you hate, or anyone trying to bring trouble your way? Wanna resolve things on the blood of your way? Just study your tape of NWA. One day I was walking by with a Walkman on when I caught a guy, give me an awkward eye. She looked strangled him off in the parking lot with his cock and eye.
You stay on my mind, think about you all the time. Got to get to know you well. If you kiss, then I will tell. You stay on my mind, think about you all the time. Got to get to know you well. If you kiss, then I will tell.
I took the walk to Poland. I took the walk to Poland.
Baby, I will forever. You make me feel like I'm living a teenage dream. The way you turn me on, I can't sleep. Let's run away and don't ever look back. Don't ever look back.
College educated, she graduated. Any bill she can't front, her parents paid it. The show was far, you the only one with a car, your girlfriends. But being that she's a big fan, of course she made it. Most girls wanna hide the fact of the thrill they chasing, but you just wanna get drunk tonight and fuck someone famous. So I just name a time and a place, and you're game for it. Value player, hotel room, meet you there.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. So darling, darling,
baby girl, you know what I want. Let me do it to you, do it to you. Let me do you like baby girl, you know what I want. Let me do it to you, do it to you. Let me do you like
so darling, darling, stand by me, oh stand
God have mercy on your soul.
Nothing that if I tell everyone how I made this money, that it's going to affect me in any sort of way.
AMD, if we get a quick little pop above $12, I'm thinking about maybe a quick little short over on AMD. Finger on the trigger to lock in profits when it starts moving back on up. Here we go. Nice job. Let's take it. $979 in profit. Look at this spike, baby. Taking some gains right off the top right here. 124,000.
You just gotta know what you're doing.
200.
Every single person can be successful.
Dollars in profit.
There's no reason for you not to become a full-time
Now
trader.
we're currently up $2,100. Let's just keep it going even more. I want every single person. Now we're up $2,500. Now we're going up to $117.40.
It's not like it's a competition. It's if I tell you how I was able to do this, go out, make that money, make a killing, and let's all absolutely crush it together.
Let's go, baby! Let's see this thing keep unfolding even farther here. We're up $1,100 within the first 5 minutes of the day.
I can buy myself flowers, write my name in sand, talk to myself for hours, say things you don't understand.
When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me free.
All right, guys,
Just like a
let's get to work.
waving flag. And
Time to
then
get to
it
work.
goes back,
Enough
and then
cuddle
it goes
time.
back,
Okay?
and then it goes
Let's make it happen now. We got about 5 minutes until this market starts erupting with possible big gains, big profits, big opportunities, and we got to go over absolutely everything. So, right now, team, 155 in the market. We have 4 minutes. I think every single person understands what we're looking at. If anyone needs a crash course, this is your time to turn down the volume on whatever you else going on, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's about to happen. All right? In the next 4 minutes, we are going to get an article. Comes on out on marketwatch.com, CNBC. You'll be able to see this on different websites across the board, Bazinga, wherever. And you guys are going to see that the interest rates are going to be getting raised by 0.25%. Now, after they're raised by 0.25%, I'm expecting the market to either get a slight dump and then spike right on up, or it's going to have a slight spike and then crash right back on down. I do not think the market is going to get any sort of dramatic move whatsoever at 2 o'clock. I think the dramatic move is going to be happening at around 2:30 today. 2:30 is when Jerome Powell comes out and speaks about the future of what's going to be happening with interest rates. So interest rates, guys, we want to know, are there going to be more? Are we going to be pausing interest rates? Are we going to be raising interest rates? What's the future outlook? Because everyone already knows there's a 99% chance that we are going to be raising rates on up. So that's not going to affect the market when it's something that we already know. What affects the market is what we don't know. So at 2 o'clock, are we going to see this market, the S&P 500, go on a spike and go on a drop, or go on a drop and go on a spike? Yes. But I wouldn't really be too concerned with this one. I would be more concerned about what Jerome Powell states. So if you are interested in trading right off the rip right here, I do think the SPY will get a quick spike up about $1.50 or so, or a drop of $1.50 or so. But at the same time, if you just say, hey, I want to wait for kind of like that next move, you can wait for the opposite side. If we go up $1.50, I think we come back down $1.50 before Jerome Powell speaks. If we go down $1.50, I think we go right back up $1.50 before Jerome Powell speaks. So the S&P 500, let's just go over towards about a 1 minute time frame here. We're going to make this really nice and big so we can take a look at it. Actually, I'm going to go back to something where we could see the entirety of the day. Entirety of the day, 2-minute time frame here, and we only got about a minute and a half until this market opens on up. Let me get this little puppy out of the room right here. Come on. So I can get some work done around here. Claire, can you please put a leash on that animal? So what we have at this time, guys, S&P 500, still, of course, watching, focusing, and staying ready over on this next possible move. If you want to take a look at the big picture, Dek, what's the big picture that we have here? Taking a look at the 30-minute time frame. 30-minute time frame, top resistance is 457. Bottom support is 451. So if we do get a hard drop right at the start, 451 would be the perfect opportunity for a dip buy. If you're saying, hey, Dek, what if we spike up right away? 457 would be the opportunity for a reversal back on down, maybe on a put contract. I don't know what's about to happen in the next minute on which way we're going to start up towards. You do not have to trade the S&P 500 either. If you want to trade the craziest of the craziest, we've talked about that. The craziest of the craziest is if you wanted to go ahead and trade SPX. SPX is probably the craziest contracts that you can trade. SPX lead towards very big spikes, very big rips, very big runs, but while you can make a lot of money, you can also lose a lot of money. You don't have to also just trade SPY. Most likely, whatever the SPY does over the next hour, Tesla is probably going to be doing. AMD is probably going to be doing. We'll probably be seeing something similar over on Amazon, something similar over on Meta. We'll be seeing a lot of big time movement on all of these plays. So let's go ahead. The S&P 500, this is going to come out within the next 2 seconds, and we are about to see some movement over on the SPY. So I think the best way for us to be able to trade this, guys, is honestly, whatever the SPY does in the first 5 minutes, I think we could be able to make a lot of movement on the opposite side. So I am still going to be focusing over on AMD and watching to see what AMD does based off what the SPY does. But again, if they come out with 0.25 interest rates, I think that's what everyone is already expecting. If we go on a big time spike, I really do think it's going to give it all back and we're going to go back to where we started before Jerome Powell speaks. So everyone keep this on watch here. Still waiting, still focused over on this play. Staying ready to rock and roll. Obviously, there's a lot of attention in this market. There's a lot of hype in this market. There's a lot that we can do in this market. And I'm really fired up to see what's going to be happening throughout today. The moment you guys see, are we raising interest rates 0.25%, 0.5%? Everyone, again, please feel free to throw that out there just so that we're all set, ready to rock and roll. But we are back, we are live, and of course, we got a nice, hour and a half ahead of us of just some nonstop trading and looking to be able to make as much profit as we can. Just want to be open, honest, and transparent. So far on this day, I am down $68. So I am down $68 on this day. Just want you guys to see my starting point of where I'm currently sitting at this moment. Okay? So S&P 500, notice, not getting a lot of crazy movement here just yet. Fed's raised benchmark rate hike to 25 basis points to 5.25% to 5.5% target range. Remember, this is what we already expected. We already knew that this was going to be coming. So taking a look over on Yahoo Finance right here. It says the Fed approves hike that takes interest rates to highest level in more than 22 years. This is what's so fearful in the market. People are saying, hey, guys, if we keep raising interest rates, we're going to fall into a deep, dark recession. And to that, I say nay. To that, I say no. You can't fall into a recession while we have extremely low unemployment and we're also only $30 away from the record high in the stock market. So to me, we are nowhere near a recession, but that's the argument people make. The argument is, hey, if we keep raising interest rates higher and higher and higher, that's going to lead towards a recession. That could lead towards a fear that could happen here. So it says the Federal Reserve on Wednesday, just now, just moments ago, right, updated a much anticipated interest rate hike that takes benchmark borrowing costs to their highest level in more than 22 years. In a move that financial markets had completely priced in, the central bank's Federal Open Market Committee raised its fund rates by 0.25 percentage point to now a target of 5.25% to 5.5%. The midpoint of that target range would be the highest level since 2001. Markets. We're watching for signs that the hike could be the last Fed rate before they take a break. While policymakers indicated at the June meeting that 2 more rate hikes are coming this year, Markets are pricing in a better than even chance that there won't be any more moves this year. This is probably the most informational. This is probably the most credible. This is the sentence that you want to base the rest of your day on the trading. So what's this sentence right here? It says, let's read it again. It says, markets are pricing in a better than even chance that there won't be any more moves this year. So what do you guys think this means for us? This means if Jerome Powell comes on out in the next 30 minutes and Jerome Powell states we are going to have more interest rate hikes, that is going against what everyone has done in the market. What everyone has done in the market is basically done what? Take a look over on the S&P 500. What has the S&P 500 done, guys? It's gone up and 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 up. Why is the market going up, 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 up? Because everyone's like, guys, don't worry. We got this interest rate and we got no more left. Guys, keep on buying. We're pausing interest rates after this. Hey, after we pause interest rates, we're cutting interest rates after this. Guys, don't even worry about it. We had one more interest rate. No big deal, guys. No big worries whatsoever. Hey, everything's going to come right back on. Everything's good. We're going to be cutting interest rates in the future. That's the way that literally traders, investors, Wall Street analysts have placed the S&P 500 right now. But if Jerome Powell walks out in 20 minutes and he says, hey, just let everyone know right now, we have to continue to raise rates, what do you guys think is going to happen? Market's going to come on down. Market's going to drop. Market's going to get ugly. Markets are going to start turning in a very quick, hard fashion. That's what it comes on down towards. It's very simple and straightforward. The world expects that this is the last interest rates. If we don't have that, we should be seeing the market be able to come back down. If Jerome Powell states, hey guys, just a little heads up, inflation is getting very weak. We've done everything we need to done. We've done 11 interest rate hikes and everything is beautiful right now. We're done with raising interest rates. Well, if he says that, what do you think is going to happen? Well, the market's going to go on up. So we already knew that at 2 o'clock we were raising 0.25 interest rates. What have we talked about? Hey, we said we're probably just going to sit and move sideways until around 2:30. This is what I've typed out in chat. This is what I've typed out on Twitter. This is what I've typed out on all our social media here. So right now, just kind of want to read through this. Some of my last tweets. S&P 500 most likely will be sitting even until the start of the meeting. There is no reason, absolutely zero reason to buy anything right now. I would sit, wait, and then why randomly throw away money? So that was right before the meeting started. This is what I want you guys to be able to read as well. If Jerome Powell states pause rates or only one more rate hike, the stock market climbs. If he says, hey guys, we're going to be cutting interest rates, we're pretty much done with interest rates, stock market's going to go on up. If he says there's more rates to come, we need to stay aggressive, that's when the stock market's going to fall. You don't want to hear the words aggressive. You don't want to hear the words we have to continue to fight inflation. You do not want to hear these words of, okay, that means we're going to keep raising rates more and more and more. That's not what we want to see, right? We want to make sure that you guys understand this entire game plan right here. So what is this afternoon's game plan? Well, we should all know this by now. This afternoon's game plan, the Feds will be raising rates by 0.25%. This is what I put this morning. It's not my opinion, it's fact. There was already a 99% chance of this happening. Traders are more focused on what Jerome Powell will state at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Will he say there's more rate hikes coming? Are we pausing rates? That is where the market is going to move. So we are waiting for that to come on up here. We do have our 451 to 457 support and resistance lines, and that is on a 30-minute time frame. That is still valid. So right here, team, S&P 500, little bit of a spike, little bit of a drop. But remember, team, as I already stated, as far as recession talks, I mean, we're not even close to recession talks. As far as recession talks, switch over to a weekly time frame if you need to, a monthly time frame. Recession talks make zero sense to me. So do I expect, maybe a little bit of a drop? As I've been stating, absolutely. But this is the highest the stock market has ever been. Look where we're at. For us to fall into a recession, we would have to fall all the way back on down towards around 370. Do you guys think that's honestly going to happen? I would say zero chance. I would say no way, Jose, right? Unless all of a sudden Jerome Powell says, hey, we're going to raise rates 0.75 for 10 more times. Then absolutely. I do think we are going to still get a drop. You guys have probably followed me on social media, on Twitter. I have been stating that I do believe that July is going to be a very red month. And the reason why I've been stating that is because we have to raise interest rates. Why I've been stating that is because we still are battling inflation and because the stock market has been moving up for 8 months straight. It is almost like right now, I'm not complaining about it. One of my best years in stock trading ever was 2021. I made over $552,000, all in the books, all credible, all live streamed. 2023 right now is shaping up to be almost like 2021. If you guys have been here in 2023, I have been trading some of the best trades that I've been able to make. Nearly everything I've been able to touch, I've been making so much cash. Last month, I was averaging $1,800 a day. It was absolutely insane. Right? So it was absolutely awesome, absolutely insane. I finished off with a nice profit of $32,000 last month. Month before that was around $26,000 a month. And now again, we are currently up $14,000 this month, which is absolutely great with everything live streamed, a live alerted, live commentated, live all that good stuff right in front of you. But you know, when I'm taking a look over on the SPY, the craziest year we've ever had in the stock market was 2021, where basically everything got so overextended, we had to get this big pullback. And right now, we're basically just going straight on up, straight on up, straight on up. It's pretty wild to think about, are we going to get this dump? I think we may have to pretty soon. Right, when we take a look, let's just go over towards these plays here, guys. Let's just talk about how ridiculous some of these plays are. I've talked about this in the past. Meta, since October, has now gone on almost a $220 spike, nearly straight up. We have seen NVDA go on nearly a $350 spike, nearly straight on up. We have been able to see Apple consistently hit brand new record highs. We have been able to see Netflix be able to go on a spike from 180 all the way up to 480, about a $300 spike, nearly straight up. And we are not having any sort of regular movement. So when we eventually do get this pullback, I think it's going to be a 1 month, 2 month long pullback. Not a recession, but just the plain fact of when you take a look at any play. When we go straight up on Meta, you usually have straight down type of moves. When we go straight on up, I'm expecting a drop on down. Now, when you're talking about long-term investments always go long, bullish when I'm talking about Meta. Do I think Meta is a great company? Yes. Do I think Apple's a great company? Of course. Do I think Google is going to pay you out if you hold it for the next 10 years? Absolutely. We're talking about midterm trades, I guess. We're talking about trades that we're talking about the next 3-month outlook. I would never say short Google for a long-term opportunity. Awful idea. Never is going to work out. But could you look for a possible month, 2 month, 3 month pullback? I definitely think it's reasonable and in the books, but it really all depends on what Jerome Powell states in the next 20 minutes here. That's what it comes on down to. So Jerome Powell, we know when he says those words, we got to stay aggressive. We know when he says we have to have more than one more interest rate on the way. We've already talked about right here, the market is pricing in, and I've already priced in the fact that we don't have any more interest rates coming on up here. That's not from me, that's straight from CNBC right here. So it says, just came on out, 2:05 p.m. Here's what's changed in the new Fed statement. This is a comparison on Wednesday's Federal Open Market Committee statement with one issued at the Fed's previous policy meeting in June. Text removed from the June statement is in red with a horizontal line through the middle. Text appearing the first time in the new statement is in red and underlying. Black appears in both statements. So if you guys wanted to read into this a little bit more, it's not that big. Let's go ahead and check this on out. It says, recent indicators suggest that economic activity has continued to expand. They got rid of that and says been expanding at a moderate pace. This is what Jerome Powell is about to read. Just a little heads on up. Job gains have been robust in recent months and the unemployment rate has remained low. That sounds very good, doesn't it? What is the con about this? What is the con about Jerome Powell coming on out and saying everything's good? It's almost like good news is bad news. And I know that sounds really confusing because Jerome Powell has a job to do. And his job is to be able to get this country and be able to make sure that money does not basically become worthless. His job is to make sure that inflation and the American dollar has value. So if inflation becomes too high and everyone has tons and tons of money, basically the American dollar becomes worthless because everything's so expensive. It's like, oh, wait, this currency doesn't mean anything for us anymore. So that's why they have to raise interest rates. And when we see that everything has been expanding and we are seeing moderate pace and we're seeing job gains have been robust and we're seeing unemployment rate has been low, this is the perfect opportunity to continue raising rates. So when everything's going well and Jerome Powell's job is to make sure that we can go ahead and raise interest rates so that we don't have to fight inflation, he's saying to all of his, all of his staff saying, guys, hey, the country's doing amazing right now. Country's doing awesome at this time. This is a perfect time to keep raising rates. Let's do it while everyone's making money. Let's do it while everyone has a job. Let's do it while we're having low unemployment. Even though, again, I don't know your personal life. I don't know, again, what type of struggles you have or trials with money and payment. I definitely understand there's a ton out there. But as they see it on paper, they're saying to themselves, we could either raise rates when the country is in a good financial standing, or we could wait until things get really bad. And then on top of that, raise rates even on top of that, which would make things even more difficult. So with everything kind of being so, nice at this moment, I wouldn't be shocked if we raise rates 1, 2, 3 more times or so, because at this moment we have low unemployment, we have a good low unemployment, good job gains, and things are expanding at this time. The U.S. banking is sound and resilient. Tighter credit conditions and household businesses are likely to weigh on economic activity, hiring, and inflation. The extent of these effects remain uncertain. The committee remains highly attentive in inflation risk. The committee seeks to achieve a maximum employment and inflation at the rate of 2% over the long run in support of these goals. The committee decided to maintain/raise the target range on the federal rates to 4 to 1/4%. Committee will continue to assess additional information and its implications for the monetary policy. In determining the extent of additional policy firming that may be appropriate to return inflation to a 2% over time, the committee will take into account the cumulative tightening of monetary policy, the lags which the monetary policy affects economic activity and the inflation, and the economic financial developments. So right here, team, this is basically what Jerome Powell is going to come out in with the next 15 minutes and basically read. So we're just getting this ahead of the curve. Now, this is available for everyone, just 90% of people don't read it. In addition, the committee will continue to reducing its holdings of Treasury securities and agency debt and agency mortgage-backed securities as described in its previously announced plans. The committee is strongly committed to returning its inflation to a 2% objective. Okay, strongly committed. In assessing the appropriate stance for monetary policy, the committee will continue to monitor its implications of incoming information for the economic outlook. Okay, so he's not going to state anything yet about continuing to raise rates. Let's see. The committee would be prepared to adjust the stance of the monetary policy as appropriate if the risks emerge that could impede the attainment of the committee's goals. Okay, so this could be taken either way. The committee would be prepared to adjust the stance on the monetary policy. Is that a good thing or a bad thing to adjust the stance? Well, right now their stance is we got to stay aggressive. So to adjust that, is that going to make people more positive and more happy when this starts, when he states this? The committee assessments that will take into account a wide range of information, including readings on labor market conditions, pressures, and financial and international developments. So traders, it's awesome that we basically have this right now, which is kind of crazy because he's going to say all of this within the next 14 minutes. He is not stating at this time. He is not stating, hey, we are raising interest rates. But he's also not stating, hey, we are going to pause interest rates, which makes it all up to interpretation. People are going to say, see guys, look at this. They said they're going to change their stance if conditions allow it to. Yes, if conditions allow it to. So they are still aggressive. Yeah, but they said they will be willing to change. They would be willing to change. But as of now, they're not changing. So it's like Jerome Powell right now is basically going to lead us on a cliffhanger. And it's really going to be which way is the market going to head off this cliffhanger. A lot of times we start seeing the market start dibbling and dabbling in certain directions after what happens, after he finishes reading this, and then people start asking him questions. A lot of times we start seeing questions such as, hey, are we going to raise interest rates or not? And he's going to say, well, let's see what comes on up. Let's see what happens. Now, if anyone does not know, we also do have a huge economic report based off inflation that does come out on Friday. So you guys can actually take a look over here. on this week's major U.S. economic reports and Fed speakers. And then Friday income, we actually have PCE index, PCE year-over-year, core PCE. This PCE data is going to be a massive indication on which way inflation is currently going or how much it's currently dropping or slowing down. So a lot of this is like, hey, he might be saying, guys, unfortunately, we don't know until we get this PCE data coming out on Friday. So after kind of reading where we're at, reading what Jerome Powell's about to be stating, talking about what we have at this moment, what are you guys leaning towards at this time? Where is the market still just kind of sitting at the same area? It probably is. And even though we know what he's about to state, the market is still just kind of sitting sideways at this time. Sitting a little bit sideways. If I had to lean towards one way or another, I mean, guys, what do you guys think? Should we take a chat vote? You know, we kind of know what here. Let's take a chat vote. Let's see what we have at this moment. All right, so let's bring this on over. Let's do a little bit of a chat vote at this time, and let's get a good idea of what everyone is really focused on right off the rip here. All right, so we're gonna get this going. We're gonna create a poll, and we are going to go with will the SPY, right? Will the SPY, will this market spike or crash after Jerome Powell speaks? What do you guys think? Everyone that's watching over on YouTube at this time, yell on out, either spike or crash. So everyone over on YouTube, yell out right now, spike or crash. Everyone over on Tradecaster at this moment, I'm going to give you guys the option so that you can go ahead and be able to pick which one you want and which one you think is going to be happening here. So let's get this going here. Let's see what you guys are thinking. And you guys are set, ready to rock and roll. So everyone, go vote. And let's see, voting is open. So you guys can vote right above the live stream or right to the right of it. And let's see what we have. Right now we got about a 50-50 split at this moment. How many people? We got 2,400. We got 2,400 people over on Tradecaster at this moment. So let's get a good idea and see what we have. We have 50, 50, 49, 50, 49, 51, 53, 46. Okay, 45, 48%. 50-50 at this moment. Come on, guys. Let's see which way is going to be winning. Which way is going to be winning at this time? Will the SPY spike or crash after Jerome Powell speaks? Let's get a good idea. Let's see where we're at here, team. This could help us be able to figure out which way the market may be heading, figure out which way the market is going to be going after Jerome Powell speaks here, coming on up in here in about 10 minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you guys 10 more seconds to cast your vote in the matter of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Stop the poll. Ladies and gentlemen, I say this from the bottom of my heart. That poll didn't help us at all. Literally didn't help us at all. I appreciate everyone participating, but what does that tell us? It told us absolutely nothing. Okay? I thought, hey, you know what? Maybe the chat room would be like, hey, Dek, this is an obvious call. It's obviously showing that the market's going to dump. Hey, Dek, this is an obvious call. It's obviously showing that the market's going to spike. We have 2,000 people here, and you're telling me we got a 51-49 split? We bet. All right, guys. Well, just kind of shows no one knows what the heck's about to happen here. Kind of just shows that no one knows anything that's about to happen. That's where we're at this time. Bring this thing on over. Let's see what we have now at this time, traders. Hey. Yeah, so right now the poll is 1% bullish, baby. Dek, are we bullish or bearish? We're 1% bullish today, baby. 1% bullish. All right, team. So what I do want to see at this moment is S&P 500 moving a little sideways. What's AMD doing? AMD. I would like to see a little AMD pop on up maybe and then it drop back on down. SPY. I really do want to be able to make some nice cash. Again, I'm just sitting with a $68 profit right now. That's it. I'm sitting with a $68 profit at this time. I mean, $68 loss, excuse me. So I want to get after it here. I want to be able to make some money. We got 8 minutes until until Jerome Powell comes out and speak. We will be watching that. We will be watching that and being able to look for a trade off of it. Now, I'm going to give you guys some strong support and resistance lines right now, okay? I'm going to give you guys some strong support and resistance lines. Everyone follow along and write these on down, okay? So, if you break these lines, expect to see a spike. If you crack underneath these lines, expect to see a dump. We, at this moment, as you guys can tell, is we are sitting at this time watching the SPY to break through 455 and 454. Throughout this entire day, we really have just been moving sideways. We have top resistance at 455. Every time we have hit this 455 mark, what has happened? We've fallen back on down. Let me actually turn this into a red line. Come on, grab it. There we go. All right. So we have top resistance, 455. Bottom support right here, traders. This is going to be right at that 454 mark. Everyone do this on your chart right now. Make the same exact channel. And it just gives you a very easy visual sense of where the stock is going to bounce at and where there's going to be reversals at. So you can obviously tell every time we come up to this red line, every single time we have come up to this red line, we've hit it and we've fallen back on down. So what does that tell you? That tells you, hey, Dek, if we come up to 455, guess what I should be doing? I should be looking for a put contract. I should be looking to sell my call contract. I should be looking for a reversal on down. You're telling me the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. The last 8 times we have come up to the red line, we've been rejected. The issue is, I'll tell you the issue right now in stock trading, okay? This is the number one issue people are in stock trading. They start saying to themselves at this time, oh, hey, the S&P 500, yeah, it's fallen the last 8 times, right? You know, we've come up to 455. All of a sudden it comes up to 455 and they say, oh, Decky, it's going to break out, I think. Do you think it's going to break out at 455? I just jumped in on my call contracts. My call contracts are running hot right now, Decky. Do you think they're going to go on up anymore? That's when we end up taking massive losses. Every single person, and I'm there as well, guys, I've been there before, is every single person wants to see the breakout. Every single person wants to see the monster spike. Every single person wants to see this monster climb. But if I told you that the last 8 times we have come up to 455, it's turned and dropped all the way back on down, we probably want to go with that trend. Imagine if we went skydiving and the instructor gave you a parachute and said, yeah, this parachute hasn't opened the last 8 times. The last 8 people who used it, they're no longer with us. What would you say? Would you say, okay, I probably don't want to use this parachute, right? Why is that? Because it's not going to work. We know that, right? We don't want to just jump with it. We know it's not going to work. So if you're saying to yourself, oh, this guy thought there was going to be a breakout and loss. This guy thought there was going to be a breakout and loss. This guy thought, this guy thought, this guy thought, this guy thought, this guy thought. Let's be ready to look for put contracts. Let's be ready to look for shorts, for a drop all the way back on down. That's how you can make consistent money. Stop trying to nail the 1 out of 9 chance and start nailing the 8 out of 8 chance, right? It's way better to be able to do that. Same exact thing on the downside. Oh, hey, Dek, I want to be able to look for a big crack and a big sell-off. Well, if you want to look for puts or shorts, do them up high. If you want to do call contracts or bounce plays, do them down low. I don't want to see anyone saying to themselves, oh, Dek, I just got a put contract right here. Oh, Grandpapa, do you think I'm going to do well on this one? Oh, yeah, this is real American dollars, the George Washingtons. Oh, so you don't want to be looking for put contracts all the way at the bottom just for it to bounce all the way back up and you take your loss. Remember, the last 3 times we came on down to 454, we saw this one do what? It bounced right back on up. So instead of looking for the 1 in 4 chance it cracks, why don't we go with the 3 for 3 chance, right? It just makes way more sense. So let's look for call contracts and bounce plays down low. And let's look for, again, put contracts all the way up at top. Now, will there be an opportunity today that it does break on out? Will there be an opportunity today that it does crack on down? Absolutely. But you know what? There could be that chance. But you know what happens? You just have close stop losses. If you're saying to yourself, all right, Dek, I'm going to follow this strategy. And if we come down here, I'm going to look for a dip buy. If we come all the way down here, I'm going to look for a dip buy. Perfect. You just set a stop loss right here. Set a stop loss right here. The most you're going to lose, $200, $250. But guess what? If it bounces the way that you want it to, how much could you win? You could be able to win $2,000. So basically, you are having a 10-to-1 reward to risk. How great is that? As long as you set stop losses underneath support or set a stop loss right above resistance, you're going to be able to have very little risk and you're going to have massive reward. And that's going to be the much better way to be able to trade these stocks. That's going to be a much better way to be able to trade these plays here. So always go with that. Now, let's play the other side of it though. Dek, what if we do break out? What if we do crack on down? What if we do see the market move and go on a strong rip and run? Go to the bigger channel. So we already know we do have 455 and we do know we have 454 as top resistance and bottom support of today. But if you change this channel right now and you go to a 30-minute time frame, you can actually see the main channel. And what's the main channel? The main channel is going to be where we have top resistance at 456.50, 457, and we have bottom support at 451. That's the channel that, you guys probably saw, over on my social media. That's this channel right here. Let me grab this. So that's this channel right here. 457, 451, 30-minute time frame over the last probably week and a half. Bounce or top resistance, bounce play, 451, 457, 457, 457. So 457, 451, that's the ultimate channel. But if we dive into today, we already know it does come on down to 455 top with, again, bottom support back on down towards around 454. Okay? So that's what you guys want to be looking at. That's what you guys want to be aware of. And that's how you guys want to be able to make this nice cash and be able to make this money. Hey, 229 right now. Let's get all set, ready to go. Everyone in the chat room right now, just so everyone has it, can you guys drop links to the live stream? Can you guys drop links to the live stream of Jerome Powell? So everyone, please drop a link to the live stream over for Jerome Powell so we all have that, so we're all set, ready to rock and roll. Also, if you guys are over on YouTube, make sure you guys smash that thumbs on up. And if you guys want to be able to see me live trade and hear this commentary every single day, we do this over on tradecaster.com. You guys can sign up to a free 7-day pass and be able to join the team, join the action, one of the largest trading communities in the world. Because again, I'm live streaming every single day, going over this stuff, making sure you understand what's happening and always backing everything up with credibility and educational lessons. Not only am I live, but there's many other traders that are live as well. Thank you everyone for dropping again these awesome links. Guys, real quickly, what color tie is Jerome Powell going to be wearing? I'm going to go with, oh man, this is a big move today. He's going to go neutral. It's not going to be green. It's not going to be red. I'm thinking he just goes with a dark blue. I'm thinking dark blue, maybe match in the background. Anyone do $100 on it? $100 Venmo. If I'm correct, you got to Venmo me. I'm thinking dark blue, kind of like suit color, throwing it on there. $100 Venmo, $100 Venmo, $100. Who do I owe? Who said purple? Who do I owe? Who do I owe money to today? Let's see. Let's dive on in.
Good afternoon. My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. We understand the hardship that high inflation is causing, and we remain strongly committed to bringing inflation back down to our 2% goal. Price stability is the responsibility of the Federal Reserve. Without price stability, the economy doesn't work for anyone. In particular, without price stability, we will not achieve a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all. Since early last year, the FOMC has significantly tightened the stance of monetary policy. Today, we took another step by raising our policy interest rate a 1/4 percentage point, and we are continuing to reduce our securities holdings at a brisk pace. We've covered a lot of ground, and the full effects of our tightening have yet to be felt. Looking ahead, we will continue to take a data-dependent approach in determining the extent of additional policy firming that may be appropriate. I'll have more to say about monetary policy after briefly reviewing economic developments. Recent indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a moderate pace. Growth in consumer spending appears to have slowed from earlier in the year. Although activity in the housing sector has picked up somewhat, it remains well below levels of a year ago, largely reflecting higher mortgage rates. And higher interest rates and slower output growth also appear to be weighing on business fixed investment. The labor market remains very tight. Over the past 3 months, job gains averaged
Coming up close to 455, guys. Watch possible reversal.
A pace below that seen earlier in the year, but still a strong pace. The unemployment rate remains low at 3.6%. There are some continuing signs that supply and demand in the labor market are coming into better balance. The labor force participation rate has moved up since last year, particularly for individuals aged 25 to 54 years. Nominal wage growth has shown some signs of easing, and job vacancies have declined so far this year. While the jobs to workers gap has narrowed, labor demand still substantially exceeds the supply of available workers. Inflation remains well above our longer run goal of 2%. Over the 12 months ending in May, total PCE prices rose 3.8%. Excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices rose 4.6%. In June, the 12-month change in the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, came in at 3.0%, and the change in the core CPI was 4.8%. Inflation has moderated somewhat since the middle of last year. Nonetheless, the process of getting inflation back down to 2% has a long way to go. Despite elevated inflation, longer-term inflation expectations appear to remain well anchored, as reflected in a broad range of surveys of households, businesses, and forecasters, as well as measures from financial markets. The Fed's monetary policy actions are guided by our mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. My colleagues and I are acutely aware that high inflation imposes significant hardship as it erodes purchasing power, especially for those least able to meet the higher cost of essentials like food, housing, and transportation. We're highly attentive to the risks that high inflation poses to both sides of our mandate, and we are strongly committed to returning to inflation to our 2% objective. At today's meeting, the committee raised the target range for the federal funds rate by a quarter percentage point, bringing the target range to 5.25% to 5.5%. We are also continuing the process of significantly reducing our securities holdings. With today's action, we've raised our policy rate by 5.25 percentage points.
Quick little side note, guys. Every single blue chip I see has a slight uptrend at this moment. Very slight uptrend. If those trend lines crack, watch for bearishness.
Particularly housing and investment. It will take time, however, for the full effects of our ongoing monetary restraint to be realized, especially on inflation. In addition, the economy is facing headwinds from tighter credit conditions for households and businesses, which are likely to weigh on economic activity, hiring, and inflation. In determining the extent of additional policy firming that may be appropriate to return inflation to 2% over time, the committee will take into account the cumulative tightening of monetary policy, the lags with which monetary policy affects economic activity and inflation, and economic and financial developments. We will continue to make our decisions meeting by meeting based on the totality of the incoming data and their implications for the outlook for economic activity and inflation, as well as the balance of risks. We remain committed to bringing inflation back to our 2% goal and to keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Reducing inflation is likely to require a period of below-trend growth and some softening of labor market conditions. Restoring price stability is essential to set the stage for achieving maximum employment and stable prices.
Breaking out of the 455 channel. If you fall back into 455, watch for puts. You are breaking out of the 455 channel. If it breaks out, remember you have room to run up to the 30-minute time frame, which is up to 456, which is the ultimate high. Right now at this moment, we are breaking out of that channel. If you go back underneath it, watch for puts. Here comes questions.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. You have, I think, a couple times in your opening remarks talked about this language in determining the extent of additional policy firming that may be appropriate. Should we take that to mean that additional hikes are likely on the way?
And
big
question.
We also believe that all future meetings, say September and November, are live, or are you in a every other meeting mode? Thank you.
So we haven't made a decision to go to every other meeting. It's not something we've looked at. We're going to be going meeting by meeting, and as we go into each meeting, we're going to be asking ourselves the same question. So we haven't made any decisions about any future meetings, including the pace at which we'd consider hiking. But we're going to be assessing the need for further tightening that may be appropriate. You read the language, to return inflation to 2% over time. I would say that the intermeeting data came in broadly in line with expectations. Economic activity remained resilient. Job creation remained strong while cooling a bit. And the June CPI report actually came in a bit better than expectations for a change. And the June CPI report, of course, was welcome, but it's only one report, 1 month's data. We hope that inflation will follow a lower path but it will be consistent with the CPI reading. But we don't know that, and we're just going to need to see more data. So what are we going to be looking at? Really, it will be the whole broader picture. And starting with, we're looking for moderate growth, right? We're looking for supply and demand through the economy coming into better balance, including in particular in the labor market. We'll be looking at inflation. We'll be asking ourselves, does this whole collection of data, do we assess it as suggesting that we need to raise rates further? And if we make that conclusion, then we will go ahead and raise rates. So that's how we're thinking about the next meeting, and how we're thinking about meetings going forward potentially. But we're now mainly thinking about the next meeting. I will also say, since we're talking about it, between now and the September meeting, we get 2 more job reports, 2 more CPI reports. I think we have an ECI report coming later this week, which is Employment Compensation Index. And lots of data on economic activity. All of that information is going to inform our decision as we go into that meeting. I would say it is certainly possible that we would raise funds again at the September meeting if the data warranted. And I would also say it's possible that we would choose to hold steady at that meeting. We're going to be making careful assessments, as I said, meeting by meeting. And I'll close by saying we've raised the federal funds rate now by 525 basis points since March 2022. Monetary policy, we believe, is restrictive and is putting downward pressure on economic activity and inflation.
If I could just briefly follow up on something you said there. You said the data in the intermediate period, it broadly came in line with expectations. Does that mean there's unlikely to have been a change in the overwhelming outlook of the committee that 2 more hikes are necessary?
I'm just going to go back to what I said. That's the question. We have 8 weeks now until the September meeting, and all that data that I recited, we're going to be looking at all of that and making that assessment then. And it really, we did have the one good read.
Guys, little heads up. I'm actually going to look for a short if we get up towards 112.60. If we get above 112.50, I'm going to be looking for a reversal back down on AMD. I think AMD is getting a little overextended. I'm trying to make my main trade on the day. If we get up near this orange line, 112.60, which is going to be a very overextended move and with some old pre-market resistance, I am going to pull the trigger. You can look for shorts. You could look for put contracts. But the trade I'm going to do is if this thing pops up to 112.60, I am going to look for a reversal back on down. Probably keep a close stop loss right around like 112.80. But I want to get up above 112.50 to start entering in on some AMD shorts. That's where I'm at this time.
I wonder from your perspective, if that continues, if we see growth not just stabilizing, but doing, performing well this summer, is that a problem because it's inflationary, or is it good news because it suggests that a soft landing is more likely? Just how are you thinking about that sort of trajectory?
Yeah, so I would say it this way. The overall resilience of the economy, the fact that we've been able to achieve disinflation so far without any meaningful negative impact on the labor market, the strength of the economy, overall, that's a good thing. It's good to see that, of course. It's also, you see consumer confidence coming up and things like that. That will support activity going forward. But you're right, though. At the margin, stronger growth could lead over time to higher inflation, and that would require an appropriate response from monetary policy. So we'll be watching that carefully and seeing how it evolves over time.
Neil.
Thanks, Chair Powell. Neil Irwin from Axios. So as you referenced earlier, in the intermeeting period, soft CPI, jobs reports, still strong but moderating, JOLTS look good. So if you're data dependent, why not pause again? Why not stay on hold? Why not take another meeting off when the data was at least...
Heads up, guys. I might get into an AMD short here pretty soon. AMD up above 112.50. I'm going to start entering all the way up towards around 112.80, looking for a reversal back on down. So I would like to see a 112.50, 112.80 average in around there, then start dropping back on down. That's my next trade.
Individual estimates of what that would take, and the median of that was an additional 2 rate hikes. So I would say we looked at the intermeeting data, and as I mentioned, broadly consistent, not perfectly consistent, but broadly consistent with expectations. And as a result, we went ahead and took another step. And that's a labor market that continues to be strong, but gradually slowing. I mentioned that the inflation report was actually a little better than expected, but we're going to be careful about taking too much signal from a single reading. And growth came in stronger than expected. So that's how we look at it, and so we did take that step today.
Nick Timmeros of the Wall Street Journal. Chair Powell, markets widely believe the median FOMC participants' inflation forecast from June for the fourth quarter of this year will be too high, given autos and shelter, and that by September that may warrant a downward revision in the inflation forecast of 20 to 30 basis points. Would that type of inflation progress be enough to hold rates steady from here, or do you need to see below-trend growth and decelerating labor income growth to be convinced that you've done enough?
So it's hard to pick the pieces apart and say, how much of this and how much of that. We'll be looking at everything. And, of course, we'll be looking to see whether the signal from June CPI is replicated or the opposite of replicated, or whether it's somewhere in the middle. We'll be looking at the growth data. We'll be looking at the labor market data very closely, of course, and making an overall judgment about that. It's the totality of the data, I think, but with a particular focus on making progress on inflation.
If I could follow up, last month you said there were benefits to moderating the pace of increases because it would give you more information to make decisions. Would another CPI report like the one we just had in June allow you to at least maintain that slower pace and defer until the fall any decision on whether you need that second rate hike?
So I'm just going to tell you again what we're going to do in September.
Man, all this guy's going to do is just repeat things over and over and over and over again. Anytime someone says, hey, we're going to raise rates, he's going to say, oh, we're going to take it meeting by meeting. Hey, okay, awesome. What do you think about, the future? We're going to take it meeting by meeting. Okay, so is the market going to go up or down? We're going to take it meeting by meeting. That's all we're going to get out of him until the next meeting. Now, that's it's good and bad. And it's basically keeping everyone at the same area as they are. Really, I think the next big deciding factors are going to be what happens on Friday with this new upcoming data. If he says right now, oh, we just got to wait for data. Well, if we have bad data, you can assume that we're probably leaning a lot more towards the downside. If we have good data, you can expect that maybe they're going to be pausing rates. So, that's kind of what we have at this moment over on the SPY. We're still kind of waiting and watching. I do think the SPY is going to get maybe one last little pop. Notice what's happening, though. It is coming up to that top channel of that 457 mark. Remember, why is the SPY at this moment, traders, right now at this time? Anyone tell me, how did we break out a 455 and spike on up towards 457? Remember, we had this daily chart this entire time, which we talked about. We did get the breakout, and where are we going up to? Go back to that 30-minute time frame. There it is, 457 area. That 457 mark is not going to be easy to break above. We've been rejected there multiple times in the past. We could take a look at that, picture that I always show you guys. Every time we come on up, 457 top resistance, top resistance, top resistance, top resistance. We just broke on out. We just ran on up towards that top resistance area. If we do start breaking 457 and we do start going up even higher than expected, ladies and gentlemen, things could really start getting a little bit more exciting. I was looking over on AMD, and I know AMD had a lot of resistance where at right around that 112.50-ish mark. And that's what I was looking for. Unfortunately, it only came on up towards like 112.30 so far. I am still hoping we get a little bit of a pop up towards around 112.60, 112.80. I do want to look for the reversal. I do think the SPY will drop. I do think all these plays are going to drop. But I do think we want to try to nail these absolute tops. If you do take a look over on Meta has higher lows. It's still very bullish. If you take a look over on AMD, it does have higher lows. It is still bullish. If you take a look over on NVDA, it does have higher lows. It is still bullish. If you take a look over on Amazon, Amazon does have higher lows. It is still bullish. Everything right now is still a little bit more bullish than bearish. We do have uptrends, so that's why if you are going to do a short, try to do it on a high of the day only. High of the day, overextended type of move. Right now, though, we are having that bullishness. I wanted to nail that possible pullback if we can get it, but at this moment, it's just I'm not getting that pullback at this time. S&P 500 just has a ton of resistance at that 457 mark because of the past here. We're going to continue to keep our eyes peeled on this and tune in on this conference.
For some time, and we need to be prepared to raise further if we think that's appropriate.
Well, and then if inflation were to, just a quick follow, if it stays at 3 or drops even a little bit more, I mean, how much of an increase in unemployment do you think is acceptable to get that last bit of inflation? People are talking about the potential difficulty of the so-called last mile of inflation. So, but how much unemployment do you think is justified to get down that last?
So it is a very positive thing that actually the unemployment rate is the same as it was when we lifted off in March of 22 at 3.6%. So that's a real blessing, and that we've been able to achieve some disinflation. And we don't seek to, it's not that we're aiming to raise unemployment, but I would just say the historical record, we have to be honest about the historical record, which does suggest that when central banks go in and slow the economy to bring down inflation, the result tends to be some softening in labor market conditions. And so that is still the likely outcome here. And we hope that that's as little as possible. We have to be honest that is the likely outcome. The worst outcome for everyone, of course, would be not to deal with inflation now, not get it done. Whatever the short-term social costs of getting inflation under control, the longer-term social costs of failing to do so are greater, and that the historical record is very, very clear on that. If you go through a period where inflation expectations are not anchored, inflation is volatile, it interferes with people's lives and with economic activity, and that's the thing we really need to avoid and will avoid.
Ooh, that was a pretty strong statement right there. Let's see how the market reacts to that strong statement.
At this point, you say the policy is restrictive, but all year long we have seen growth surprise to the upside, unemployment to the downside, and inflation lately to the downside. So I'm wondering, by definition, should you be restrictive enough right now under these conditions? Do you think you might need to do more? Because I'm curious about what you see as inflation dynamics now. Is the economy still moving in a direction where it creates more inflation? People talk about base effects and higher energy costs, and now we have some large labor settlements. Or is the economy disinflating, and you're able to go back to the old Fed policy of opportunistic disinflation?
So I'll just say, again, the broader picture of what we want to see is we want to see easing of supply constraints and normalization of pandemic-related distortions to demand and supply. We want to see economic growth running at moderate or modest levels to help ease inflationary pressures. We want to see continued restoration of supply and demand balance, particularly in the labor market, and all of that should lead to declining inflationary pressures. Now, what we see is those pieces of the puzzle coming together, and we're seeing evidence of those things now. But I would say that what our eyes are telling us is that policy has not been restrictive enough for long enough to have its full desired effects. So we intend, again, to keep policy restrictive until we're confident that inflation is coming down sustainably toward our 2% target, and we're prepared to further tighten if that is appropriate. And we think the process, still probably has.
So guys, still watching this at this moment. Obviously, I do want to keep my eyes peeled on AMD. A couple traders are asking me, Dek, why do I trade AMD? Well, AMD, it's not super expensive. Yes, it is, over $100, but it's just not $400. Why don't, I trade something like Tesla or so? Tesla's just a little bit more expensive. What I really love about AMD, why I've been trading this one so much is because it's active. It's hot. It's a stock that most people can afford, even when you're doing contracts. We can all be able to trade it. I like to trade the most volatile plays in the stock market. AMD is a very volatile play. That's why I like trading it so much, and that's why I've been leaning towards this play so much. So AMD, it's a moneymaker. As long as plays are moving, you can profit off of them. AMD, I was trying to get an entry up towards around that 112.60 mark. Unfortunately, didn't get up that high. Dek, what would be the next possible entry? Next possible entry that makes sense would be buying a dip buy at or near this purple line. If you can get at or near this purple line, that's a great dip buy with a stop loss underneath this purple line. If it cracks underneath this purple line, it would lead towards a sell-off. But I would like to be able to see a nice pullback, maybe get filled at 111, maybe a little dip buy right back on up. Cracks 111, we have room to fall back down towards the VWAP at 110.64. So I just like playing volatility. Whichever stocks are moving is the stocks that I can make the most money on.
What we think is the right pace, and I do think it makes all the sense in the world to slow down as we now make these finally judged decisions. And so that's what we did. And so I think it's possible, I mentioned before, it's possible that we would move it consecutive means we're not taking that off the table, or we might not. It's really going to depend on what the data tell us. That's the best we can do.
So we shouldn't assume that every other meeting is the lowest tightening frequency, let's say. It could be, longer intervals in between as well.
I think we're going to look. I think we're going to make a decision about the next meeting, and then we're going to make a decision about the one after that, and I think it'll sort itself out.
Thanks. Howard Schneider with Reuters. Among your colleagues, there have been people who've said they feel that very little transmission has taken place so far from monetary policy into the economy, and there are those who feel, they say, it's happened very fast this time and it's kind of up to date. Where are you on that continuum?
So there's a long-running debate about the lags between changes in financial conditions and the response to those changes from economic activity and inflation, right? So we know that in the modern era, financial conditions move in anticipation of our decisions, and that has clearly been the case in this cycle.
I'm going to give it this, though. Who else can agree here? Jerome Powell, he knows how to work himself out of a situation. You got to give the guy some credit, right? Am I wrong? It's like, hey, are we going to be raising rates? It all depends on, again, what's going to be coming out on the next meeting. Okay, well, what if the next meeting is bad? Are we going to be raising rates? Well, again, we can't really judge about the future. Hey, what did you have for dinner last night, Jerome Powell? I just want to know, what did you eat for dinner? Well, again, it really depends on what you mean by dinner. The different times, the different states. I mean, I always have to get at least 3,000 calories in per day, and I do consume that food throughout the day. So, it all really depends on what you mean by that. Thanks. Good question. Hey, do you have any brothers or sisters, Jerome Powell? Well, I think every person could be considered a brother or a sister. It really depends on the meaning that you have on offspring. Are we talking about mother's deliveries? And then, nowadays, you could be a guy, a girl. You could be, a chapstick. You could be a fighter pilot. You could be whatever you want. So are we really having siblings nowadays? Right? It's like Jerome Powell. It's like, he just doesn't ever answer a question. It's just like, doesn't matter. You could do whatever you want. Like that's so that we're not really getting any true answers from this guy at this moment.
If I sum it up, I would say we've come a long way. We are resolutely committed to returning inflation to our 2% goal over time. Inflation has proved stronger than we and other forecasters have expected. And at some point that may change. We have to be ready to follow the data. And given how far we've come, we can afford to be a little patient as well as resolute as we let this unfold.
On the credit side, I'm wondering if you saw anything in the latest SLOOS data that made you think you're getting a quantum of credit contraction beyond what you'd expect. The bank lending data really is, the growth rates edging down towards and heading below zero, which is usually a recession indicator.
So I guess the SLOOS will come out early next week, and I would just say it's broadly consistent with what you would expect. You've got lending conditions tight and getting a little tighter. You've got weak demand, and it gives a picture of pretty tight credit conditions in the economy. I think it's really hard to tease out how much of that is from this source or that source, but I think what matters is the overall picture is of tight and tightening lending conditions, and that's what this SLOOS will say.
Rachel. Hi, Chair Powell. Rachel Siegel from the Washington Post. Thanks for taking our questions. Could you break down the reasons why inflation has fallen and what share of that credit you would give to factors that don't stem directly from rate hikes or that might be within your control at all, like easing supply chains and a drop in energy prices over the past year?
Yeah. So, interesting question. So, let me start by saying that the inflation surge that we saw in the pandemic resulted from a collision of elevated demand and constrained supply, both of which followed from the unprecedented features of the pandemic and the response from fiscal and monetary policy. And we've always expected that the disinflationary process would stem from both from the normalization of those broad pandemic-related supply and demand conditions and from restrictive monetary policy, which would help return the balance between supply and demand by restraining demand. And we think that's broadly what we're seeing. So to go break it down a little further, of course, headline inflation has come down sharply from elevated levels as energy and food prices have come down, mostly due to reversal of the effects from the war in Ukraine. And that's a good thing, and the public experiences that, as I mentioned earlier. For core inflation, I'd say there has been a role for both factors, both that I mentioned. Clearly, for goods, normalization of supply conditions is playing an important role, as is the beginning of the reversal of spending back into services and away from goods. And take autos as an example. The combination of an increase in sales and inventories, while vehicle inflation has decelerated, points to a substantial role for supply. But there's also a role for demand.
What are you guys thinking at this moment? Where are you guys at this moment? I'm just trying to get a feel. Do you guys think what do you guys think at this time? Do you guys think it's like, hey, Dek, we're playing a guessing game on which way the market's going to go? Do you guys think there's a trade out there that we can make? I'm just trying to get a feel for the room right here. I'm trying to get a feel for what everyone else's thoughts are. Are you guys just saying to yourself, Dek, it looks like maybe things are going to slowly fade back down to where they were? I can imagine AMD back down towards 111. I can imagine the SPY coming back on down to 455. I can imagine, just kind of slow and steady drops throughout the rest of the day. It's not like we're getting any true answers. We already knew we were going to get a 0.25 rate hike. We were really expecting him to either say we have more rate hikes on the way or we don't have more rate hikes on the way. And that really kind of is it. It's either we're going to have more rate hikes or we don't have, but instead he's just throwing a curveball and be like, hey, we really don't know. So I feel like, I could easily imagine this market coming right back on down to 455. Let's reverse the question I'm asking right now. Why would it spike? Well, Dek, it's going to spike because he said that we have to, that we're not going to be raising any more interest rates. Maybe. Well, why would it dump? Well, it's going to dump because he said that we are, maybe not doing more rate hikes. We are. It's like maybe each way. Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. So I really think could the SPY break out because of this? I don't think the SPY could break out from this news. We don't have any sort of news that's going to lead towards, this is a massive... The SPY should come right back down to where it is, which is why I think, again, Tesla's going to come back down towards where it is, back on down to 260, which is why I think AMD is going to eventually come back on down towards where it is, back on down towards 111, which is why I think, everything is probably going to, if anything that just got a little bit of a pop, I think is going to come back down to just where it was at around 2 o'clock, because we really haven't had any change in anything. Right? There hasn't really been any change in news. There really hasn't been any change in difference. We know there's a 0.25 interest rate. We had 0.25 interest rate. What's going to happen in the future? Jerome Powell tell us? We don't know. So we don't have any change on what we already knew since this morning. So that's why it just kind of comes on down to the pure fact that it is a little bit of guessiness, I feel like, which I do not like. So we'll keep our eyes peeled. Meta, see where that's at. The SPY got that first initial pop. Something that you guys can always keep in the back burner is usually when Jerome Powell speaks, we always see some sort of spike. It's just when he speaks, we usually see some sort of spike happen. Yeah.
Series of big unions, these contract pushing wage inflation then?
Not for us to comment on contract negotiations. Not our job, not our role. We monitor these things and we'll keep an eye on them. But really, that's something that's handled at that level. And not
a large amount of people.
Victoria.
Hi, Victoria Guido with Politico. I wanted to ask about the SEP, which suggests that you would cut rates as overall and core PCE get to around or under 3%. And so I'm wondering, is the level of inflation what's sort of important there as you think about getting to 2% and when you might start cutting rates? Or is the speed at which inflation is falling also important?
I think you'd take both into account. I think you'd take everything into account when you start cutting rates. It would depend on a wide range of things. And when people are writing down rate cuts next year, you know, it just is a sense that inflation is coming down and we're comfortable that it's coming down and it's time to start cutting rates. I think, but I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty between what happens, you know, in the next meeting.
Traders, I just don't think it's going to happen here. Like, I'm here ready to go, ready to trade. It's just, I know this is how it works, okay? I know there's a lot of us here right now. We all want to pull the trigger. We all want to make money. I know if I say, hey guys, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to short AMD. AMD, if I short it, I'm thinking the most money I'm going to win is maybe $400. But if I lose, it's like, Dek, you kind of forced to trade. And a lot of us, again, always look up to you and see which way you guys are trading. So it's like, I kind of have to play a mom and dad type of role right now. I don't want to be mom and dad. I don't want to be that type of role. But what am I basically doing? I'm saying, hey, I'm not going to put myself in a position because I don't want you guys to put yourself in a position. I know we all want to pull the trigger and make as much money as we can. But at the same time, guys, I would rather protect your profits. I would rather protect your accounts. I don't want to just say, hey, everyone, let's just trade for no reason. I truly want to be the best mentor I can be to you. So what does that mean? That means teaching you guys when to pull the trigger and when not to pull the trigger. And I don't want you guys to just jump in on any sort of random trade just because you're bored and you want to trade. We always try to make every day fun, exciting, exhilarating, profitable, educational, consistent, right? That's what we want. And I do think AMD is going to come back down to the purple line. I do think everything is going to drop basically right back down to where it started. That's what I do think is going to happen. But you know what? I don't want to be like, hey guys, let's wait for the best plays possible. And I'm just like, hey, I feel like shorting, and I just jump in on a play just for everyone to lose. That's kind of my biggest fear here. So it's like I'm in a little balanced state right now. What am I saying? Hey, Sean, everyone wants to see live trades. Everyone wants to see you get after it. But if you, again, just throw people into a live trades, they're losing their real money. They're losing their hard work. They're losing, again, what they want to do so badly. So what's, again, the more mature call, even, again, it's the call that people may not want to hear, is let's save our accounts. Let's save. Let's be profitable. Let's make sure we're not putting ourselves in bad positions. Would that be the better call here, guys? Would that be more the mature call here? Would that be a better opportunity for us to be able to make sure that we are going into maybe later on today, maybe again going into tomorrow, going in with full accounts, full size, and ready to trade? Because let's not forget, guys, coming on up here, if you guys do or do not know, we do have earnings reports right here. We do have Meta. Meta's earnings is tonight. I will tell every single person this right now. It's not, this is not, please, this is not anything I usually like to say. But if you want to turn your $2,000 account into $8,000 tonight, if you guys want to turn $5,000 into $20,000 tonight, usually Meta is the stock that you can do it on. Now, this is what I mean by that is Meta, if you randomly just said, Dek, I don't care, I'm gambling, I'm guessing, I know I could lose my entire account, but I'm going to go ahead and trade an earnings report on Meta, that's where you could do it. Meta is buying beforehand is a 100% gamble. You can lose your entire account if you 100% gamble on Meta. But if you are correct, you could go ahead and make massive amounts of money. So this is just me telling you the opportunity that Meta really can bring. Meta, notice how you have all these monster gap ups or you have these monster gap downs. You have, just take a look at how wild this is. Meta has moved from $328 to $238, a $95 drop overnight. We have seen Meta drop from 132 down to 96, a $40 drop. We've seen the stock go from 148 all the way up to 197, a $50 gap up. We have seen 208 all the way up to 240, a $38 gap up. The reason why this happens is because of earnings reports. Meta is usually known to have some of the most crazy earnings, if that's large gap ups or if that's large gaps down. I have zero idea which way Meta is going to gap up or down tonight. The reason why it's so crazy is because no one does. If you guys are on Twitter or StockTwits or social media and some guy just says, oh, I know exactly what Meta is going to do, he's randomly just guessing. The only person that knows what Meta is going to do tonight is Mark Zuckerberg. That's it. So anyone else that you follow on social media that says, oh, easy call, I know what's going to happen, he's just randomly 50-50 guessing, hoping that he's right. And then when he is right, or if he is right, you guys are like, oh, wow, that guy's amazing. I don't want to say, hey, everyone jump in on Meta on the call side, be wrong, and then your account's gone. But I do want to tell you guys that Meta is probably the most active, is probably the most wild, and usually leads to at least a $40 to $50 move overnight. This is a play that you could be able to make massive amounts of money on, but you can also lose your entire account. So if you are sitting here right now, and you're saying to yourself, man, Dek, this Jerome Powell speech was a little bit of disappointing to me. I was hoping we'd see more volume. I was hoping we'd see more activity. I was hoping we'd see more action behind it. Hey, I 100% agree with you. I wish we saw a little bit more hype, a little bit more action, a little bit more movement behind it as well. But at the same time, what I do think you guys can be getting ready for is that Meta trade. That means you don't have to buy in beforehand unless you guys are doing options. If you guys are doing shares, you could wait for the news to come out, read the news quickly, then jump in, then just jump on out, go from there. But it seems like at this time, team, I don't know if I'm going to put myself in any sort of position at this moment. All right. So seems like at this time, at this moment, I'm not going to be putting myself in any sort of position. I don't like gambling over earnings. I'm already up big on the month. I'm big on the year right now, and I just don't want to throw it away on some random earnings. Now, trust me, guys, I have won some massive money. The most money I've ever won on an earnings overnight was $40,000. I made $40,000 on an earnings overnight before. The most I've ever lost on an earnings overnight was $26,000. So imagine just jumping in on a play, seeing bad earnings, and you can't do anything about it. You're just sitting there and saying, well, I can't get out on my option trade. I guess I just got to wait until tomorrow. And all of a sudden the next day you wake on up, all of a sudden a bell rings, ding, 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 and you're down 26 grand. It's an amazing feeling when you're on the right side. But when you're on the wrong side, hey, it's a 50-50. So be careful if you guys are going to be looking into that. Do want to take some time right here and see what we have at this moment, see what's coming on up.
Now, given Bank of California's acquisition of PacWest, does this acquisition suggest the full impact has not been felt, or are you comfortable saying that we've seen most of the ripple effects that may have occurred at this point? And how does this play into your outlook for policy?
So I don't want to comment on any particular merger proposal, but I will say
AMD with a nice little drop, though.
Things have settled down for sure out there. Deposit flows have stabilized, capital and liquidity remain strong. Aggregate bank lending was stable quarter over quarter and is up significantly year over year. Banking sector profits generally are coming in strong this quarter, and overall the banking system remains strong and resilient. Of course, we're still watching the situation carefully and monitoring conditions in the banking sector.
As you guys can see, it's almost exactly what we called. What did I say earlier, guys? There's no good news here, but at the same time, there's no bad news here. So the S&P 500 is turning right now. I don't think it's going to dump. You might say, Dek, it's dumping right now. I don't think it's going to dump. What I think is going to happen is it's going to hit a new low of the day, and it's going to bounce and just hover around 454 the rest of the day. Why would it dump? Well, Dek, he said that we're going to be raising interest rates. No, he didn't. He didn't say we're raising interest rates. He says that we might do it coming on up. It is that we're going to be at the same area as we are because there's no reason to spike. There's no reason to crash. We're just going to be putting ourselves right back to where we're at. Okay? So don't jump in on puts hoping for this one to go all the way down to 450. I think we're just going to be sitting at the same area. Use your head, not your biased opinion. Mike, good read on everything today, Dek. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. So awesome job. Awesome job, guys. If you guys do have any questions, comments, concerns for me at this moment, right now is a perfect time to ask. So any questions, comments, or concerns for me right now, guys, please let me know. I definitely want to help you guys on out. I'm not trading Meta's earnings. As you guys know, though, of course, I'm going to be back live tomorrow, ready to rock and roll, and we could definitely go after it, make some more cash, make some more money. But I really do. When I say, guys, I want to be the best mentor I can be, I know, again, we get excited, we get emotional, we get a little bit crazy up in here. We might get a little frisky every now and then, maybe even a little sexual. Who knows? But at the same time, traders, it's all out of the goodness out of our hearts to make ourselves better and make you guys the best trader we we could possibly make, you guys. So right here, notice how the S&P 500 is getting a little bit of a bounce back on up. Don't be putting yourself in on these bad positions. Don't be putting yourself in hoping that a stock moves in your direction. To me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Xing this on out. I'm closing my broker on down. I'm walking away from the computer, and I'm saying to myself, hey, Deck, start fresh tomorrow morning. Get a play that you feel more confident in. Don't try to be picking up pennies to go ahead and lose dollars, right? I'm basically trying to make little profits when I could honestly lose so much more than what I can make. Joe X, how far out of the money can you go with a meta on a small account? Probably, again, go out to like Friday EXPs. You know, Friday EXPs, if you can go as far out as you want, though. But if you're really just holding it overnight, probably do a Friday or sometime next week expiration date. Russ, what's the month P&L? Right now, we're up $14,000 on the month. So up $14,000 on the month. Trader Ann, Deck, I love your discipline. Makes me trust you a lot. Oh, thank you so much. Hey, I trust you too, Trader Ann. You and I, we got each other. Okay? I love you. That calls and puts over on Meta is crazy expensive. Yeah, because it's in high demand right now. Everyone wants to be able to make millions. So everyone's paying as much money as they possibly can over on these plays. Absolutely. Guys, we just got to be as smart as we can. All right, traders. All right. AMD, are we at the bottom? AMD is probably, again, same exact thing, team, going to be hovering around where it's been. So what does that mean? It means if it keeps on falling, it's probably not going any lower than around 110. If it bounces back on up, it's probably not going to bounce much higher than 111.30, right? It's probably going to just hover around these areas. Don't expect anything. Was there good news? No. Was there bad news? No. So it's just going to sit back to where it was, right? It had a big spike, then it just came crashing all the way back on down. Just going to hover for the rest of the day, right where we're at here. So great job, great work from absolutely everyone. Hey, traders, ladies and gentlemen, I will be back on tomorrow morning. As you guys know, we just want to be as smart as we can, put ourselves in the positions that are going to win, and make sure we're not making sure that you guys are just throwing away your money for no reason whatsoever. So team, hey, thank you so much for everyone who has joined us. I hope you guys are ready to rock and roll for a big day tomorrow. I hope you guys are fired on up, and I hope you guys are excited for some more profits on the way. We, again, are going to be getting after it, making as much cash as we can. Traders, ladies, gentlemen, chapsticks, whatever you want. You guys are all set, ready to go on this one. I will see you guys back in early tomorrow morning. I'll have after-hour scanners up, ready to rock and roll for Meta. And you guys are going to be having a big night ahead if you guys are looking to trade Meta. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be an exciting one. It's going to be a crazy one. Traders, you guys are fantastic. Absolutely awesome. Love working with you. Help me wrap this one on up. You guys know it, baby. And 3, 2, 1. Ah-hoo! Shout out to you guys. Amazing job. Amazing work. See you guys back here bright and early tomorrow morning. Thank you, team.
Nothing that if I tell everyone how I made this money, that it's going to affect me in any sort of way.
AMD, if we get a quick little pop above $12, I'm thinking about maybe a quick little short over on AMD. Finger on the trigger to lock in profits when it starts moving back on up. Here we go. Nice job. Let's take it. $979 in profit. Look at this spike, baby. Taking some gains right off the top right here. 124,000.
You just got to know what you're doing.
200.
Every single person can be successful.
$200 in profit.
There's no reason for you not to become a full-time day
now
trader.
Now we're currently up $2,100. Let's just keep it going even more. I want every single person. Now we're up $2,500. Now we're going up to $117.40.
It's not like it's a competition. It's if I tell you how I was able to do this, go out and make that money, make a killing, and let's all absolutely crush it together.
Let's go, baby! Let's see this thing keep unfolding even farther here. We're up $1,100 within the first 5 minutes of the day. I'm feeling absolutely fantastic.
see no changes. Wake up in the morning and I ask myself, it's like work, nigga, should I blast myself? I'm tired of being poor, nigga, work some black. My stomach hurts, so I'm looking for a person to snatch. Cops give a damn about a Negro. Pull a trigger, kill a nigga, he's a hero. Get it back to the kids, who the hell cares? One less hungry mouth on the welfare.
I'm damned if I do give a damn what people say. No deal, and I need this shit they want from me. I just wanna say,
What you know about us? I got what you need. Looking for the story, then what you want. You get what you please. We about to get it on. Take off the drugs. It's just you and me. You know what I be doing. I'm about to go wrong. Cause I like what I see. California, no sign of party. California, no sign of party. In the city of LA. In the city of gold lights. In the city of Compton. We keep it rockin'. We keep it rockin'.
I feel bonita.
Push me, and then just touch me, till I can get my satisfaction.
Push me, and then just touch me, till I can get my satisfaction.
But baby, you hardly even know when I try to show you. Song is meant to keep you doing what you're supposed to. Waking up too early, maybe we could sleep. Make you banana pancakes, pretend like it's the weekend now.
That girl is a real crowd, please. Small world, all her friends know of me. Young bull living like an old keys. Quick release the cash, watch it fall slowly.
Waking up too early, maybe we could sleep. Make you banana pancakes, pretend like it's the weekend now.
Smoke in the air, Dennis drink.
Look. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, and motherfuckers act like you forgot about Dre. Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, and motherfuckers act like they forgot about Dre. So what do you say to somebody you hate, or anyone trying to bring trouble your way? One of his all things gonna bloody your way. Just study your tape of NWA. One day I was walking by with a Walkman on when I caught a guy, give me an awkward eye. Two looking strangled him off in the parking lot with his cork and eye.
You stay on my mind, think about you all the time. Got to get to know you well. If you kiss, then I will tell. You stay on my mind, think about you all the time. Got to get to know you well. If you kiss, then I will tell.
I took the walk to Poland. I took the walk to Poland.
Baby, I will fall there for you. Make me feel like I'm living a teenage dream. The way you turn me on, I can't sleep. Let's run away and don't ever look back. Don't ever look back.
College educated, she graduated. Any bill she can't front, her parents paid it. The show was far, you the only one with a car out your girlfriends. But being that she's a big fan, of course she made it. Most girls wanna hide the fact that the thrill they chasing, but you just wanna get drunk tonight and fuck someone famous. So I just name a time and a place, and you're game for it. Value player, hotel room, meet you there.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. So darling, darling,
Baby girl, you know what I want. Let me do it to you, do it to you. Let me do you like Baby girl, you know what I want. Let me do it to you, do it to you. Let me do you like
so darling, darling, stand by me, oh, stand
God have mercy on your soul.
Do you still want me? Can I be honest? I still want your hands up on my body. You still make my heart beat fast. Ferrari with me in the wave, but in the morning. Do you still want me? So baby, if you want me, you've got to show me love. Words are so easy to say. You've got to show me love. Can I be honest? I still want your hands up on my body. You still make my heart beat fast. Ferrari with me in the wave, but in the morning. I need you to hold on. Maybe there's a place so far away. Although I should be the one to say we all make mistakes. Take me and hold on. Tell me that you need to stay. 'Cause I know I was meant to be someone.
I can buy myself flowers, write my name in sand, talk to myself for hours, say things you don't understand.
When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. And then it goes back, and then it goes back, and then it goes back. Oh,
I can take myself dancing, and I can hold my own head. Yeah, I can love me better than you can.
Y'all already know who I am. My name's Topher.
Cause I'm honest now.
I know you're tired of loving with nobody to love. Nobody. Just grab somebody. Don't live in this party with nobody to love. Nobody.
And I saw my reflection in a snow-covered hill, where the landslide brought down. Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I built my life around you. But time makes older, children get older, and I'm getting older too.
And somebody said to me, nigga, why you babysitting? Only 2 or 3 shots. I'ma show you how to turn it up a notch. First you get a swimming pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. Pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. I wave a few bottles, then I watch them all fly. All the girls wanna play, they watch. I got a swimming pool full of liquor and they dive in it. Pool full of liquor, I'ma dive in it.
Up Vermont, finished the season of the sticks, and I saw your mom. She forgot that I existed, and it's half my fault. But I just like to play the victim. I'll drink alcohol till my friends come home for Christmas. Party rock is in the house tonight,
Everybody just have a good time. Yeah. And we gon' make you lose your mind. Everybody just have a good time. And I'll dream each night of some version of you that I might not have, but I did not lose. And we gon' make you lose your mind. Yeah. We just wanna see it. Shake that.
If I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget away?
Shake that. Can you keep up, baby boy? Make me lose my breath. Bring me noise. Make me lose my breath. Hit me hard. Make me lose my. Can you keep up, baby boy? Make me lose my breath. Bring me noise. Make me lose my breath.
I've got another confession to make. I'm your fool. Everyone's got their chains to break, holding you. Were you born to resist or be abused? If someone getting the best, the best, the best, the best of you.
Keep up, baby boy. Make me lose my.
Can we find love again? Is this time? Yeah. Tell me how many more tears will try till you hit me with can we talk and try love again?
I used to pray for times like this, to rhyme like this, so I had to grind like that, to shine like this. In a matter of time I spent on some locked up shit in the back of the paddy wagon, cuffs locked on wrist. See my dreams unfold, nightmares come true. It was time to marry the game, and I said, yeah, I do. If you want it, you gotta see it with a clear eye view. Got shorty, she try and bless me like I said I
When I
do.
met you in the summer, to my heartbeat sound, we fell in love as the leaves turn brown. And we could be together, baby, as long as skies are blue. You act so innocent now, but you lied so soon. When I met you in the summer, when I met you in the summer,
And it became personal with me.
You ready? Hold up, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished. When I bought the ass tomorrow, y'all thought it was rented. Flexing on these niggas, I'm like Papa on the spinach. Double M, yeah, that's my team. Rose, the captain, I'm lieutenant. I'm the type can to make captain grind like I'm broke. That Lambo, my new bitch, she'll ride like my ghost. I'm riding around my city with my hands strapped on my toes. Cause these niggas want me dead, and I gotta make it back home. I got way too much time to be this hurt. Somebody help, it's getting worse. What do you do with a broken heart? Once the love fades, everything is dark.
She wants to touch me, whoa. She wants to love me, whoa. She'll never leave me, whoa. Don't trust her, never trust her.